In this video I'm going to be talking about the Sony A7c. This is Sony's most recent release in the alpha camera world. I'm going to be sharing with you my thoughts on it, what it was supposed to be and what it should have been. I'm also going to be comparing it to the A7 III and other APS-C cameras, and I'm going to share with you my positives and negative aspects when it comes to that camera. Now, this is gonna be a rant type of video, so if you like Sony or you're a Sony fanboy, please don't watch this video because I'm gonna be bashing this camera. But if you want to hear my opinion on this camera, then stay tuned for the video. Alright, so let's go over the Sony A7c then, shall we? This is Sony's newest camera, which released last month in September, and it's supposed to be the smallest and lightest full-frame camera from their words, but it's really not. That will be the Sigma FP, the smallest and lightest interchangeable lens camera in mirrorless, but whatever, let's get to the point. So, I have already right here the page for the Sony A7c. So we have it right here. So this is basically just a mini A7 III, pretty much. It's just a mini A7 III, and it's the same body style almost as the A6400, the 6100. So it uses the same APS-C type body with a full frame sensor. It also has a new kit lens, which you can see right here attached to the camera, which is a 28-60 f4 to 5.6, which even though it's kind of small, it extends. If you can, as you can see here, it extends when you start the camera, so it's pretty much like the 16-50 3.5 5.6 for APS-Cs as well. So when you have the camera off, it's not extended. When you turn it on, it extends. So it's not really that amazing that it's that compact. Also, it starts at f4 and it only starts at 28mm, so it's not really that impressive that it's this small. The 28-70 for full frame, yes, it's a little bit bigger, but then again it starts at f3.5 and it also goes to 70mm, so it's not really that impressive, this kit lens. And overall, my opinions on this camera is that it's not really that great. Yes, it has a flip out screen, as you can see here, but if you pay close attention, the flip out screen, not only is the aspect ratio a little bit awkward, it's a little bit square shaped. I don't know why Sony decided to go with this route. They also did this with the Sony ZV-1. I don't know if the A7S III is actually the same as well, but the screen is kind of square shaped. It's not really that horizontal like most cameras. Like my Nikon, for example, that's filming right now, has a much horizontal screen. It's also bigger than 3.2 inch. This Sony camera only has a 3-inch screen, so that's really small. The quality is really not that great as well, and like I said, the aspect ratio is really terrible. If you pay close attention, you can definitely see it. There's also a big big black border in the left there. So the screen, even though it's flip out, it's not really that great. But finally Sony delivered it. Finally Sony's trying to deliver cameras with a flip out screen, which is what people really wanted, because Sony cameras have probably the best autofocus system. I don't know anymore now. Now the R5 and the R6 might be a little bit better, but then again, the Sonys are pretty much on par. They have one of the best autofocus system in the market. So if you have a pretty good autofocus system, why not implement the flip out screen? So it's really great that Sony finally is delivering flip out screens to their cameras. Let's hope the A7 IV also has a flip out screen. But now the main negative about this camera is really the price. It's selling for $1,798 to $2,098 with the kit lens. Here in Europe, it's selling for about 2,100 euros or something like that. So in my opinion, it's very overpriced, and this is true because this camera has not really been selling that well. Most of the reviews I've seen online and the opinion videos have been talking about the price and how it's too expensive for what it offers. And it's true, it's very overpriced. It's basically just a mini A7 III with some refinements when it comes to the color science and some video specs here and there. and it also has the flip out screen, but you do lose some things compared to the A7 III, like the better ergonomics, the faster buffer and bigger buffer. You also lose some photo features as well, and some other things like the burst tuning as well. It doesn't go as far. So when you put your mind into it, it's pretty much just a mini A7 III, overpriced like crazy, but whatever. This is Sony that we're talking about, right? Sony can't be trusted, never. But I'm also going to be talking about now about what this camera was supposed to be, the first rumors that we got about this camera, and how it really turned out to be the A7C, because I have it right here, because this camera was supposed to be named the A5 or the A6. I'm guessing it's gonna be, I'm guessing they were gonna choose the A5 name. So this was supposed to be the Sony A5, and it was supposed to be priced at $1,000. Now, if this camera released as the A5, it would have sold like hotcakes, really. It would have sold like crazy, but unfortunately Sony, I don't know what got into their mind. They decided to price it at the same price pretty much as the A7 III, which can now be brought for cheaper as well, mind you. You can now buy the A7 III for about $1,700 or something like that, and if you buy used, you can get it as down as $1,300. So yeah, there's that. You can now get the A7 III for lower as well anyway. So but these were the first specs that we got for this camera and what it was supposed to be. So marketed for vloggers and YouTubers, yeah, this is correct, because the camera has a flip out screen and it's smaller. So here we have the rendering as well. So it retained the same body. So aside from the grip, now the grip is not really as deep as this render right here. They have a shallower grip, not as deep as the 6600, which is the body that they're using right here. So these were the unknown specs from first-time sources, rumored or denied by trusted sources. These were the specs that were rumored for this camera. Some of them are true, others are not. New body is designed similar to the A5000 A6000 series, so this is true. But like I said, the grip is not really as deep as the 6600 or the A7 III, and I will be sharing with you a quick comparison with them. The grip is pretty large to accommodate the battery, so it uses the new NP-FZ100 battery, so that's pretty good, because the battery life with this battery is pretty good. But the grip, like I said, is not really that deep. 5 frames per second. Now this is not true, because it's actually 10 frames per second, so that was an improvement, I guess. IBIS. Now this camera has IBIS, but then again, I don't really think it should have had IBIS, because this camera should have really been targeted for videographers, and people know that IBIS really sucks on Sony's. Anybody who shoots with Sony cameras knows that the Sony IBIS system really sucks. It's very shaky, and you're not really gonna be you're not gonna do that well when it comes to video. If you really want stabilization with Sony cameras, you're gonna have to use the gimbal, because if you use the IBIS or the Lens IS, it's still gonna be very shaky. And there's a lot of videos online, if you do not believe me, there's a lot of videos comparing Sony with Panasonic, Nikon, Canon. Their IBIS is the worst, so I would not have put IBIS in this camera. No pop-up flash. Now I'm not really sure if this camera has a pop-up flash actually. I don't know, does it have a pop-up flash? I don't think it has a pop-up flash actually, but then again, it's not really that needed. It's a full-frame camera. Everyone knows that built-in flash sucks, so yeah, no problem there. Pop-up VF with 770,000 pixels, 2.3 million points, 0.6 times magnification. Now, this turned out to be false in a way. It does not use a pop-up EVF. It uses the same EVF as the APS-C camera, so it's on the left side. Now, because it uses the same EVF as the APS-C cameras, it's a little bit low resolution, so there's that, but it's not really pop-up. But then again, I don't think an EVF was needed for this camera. I would have released this camera without an EVF. That would have made it cheaper as well. So Yeah, I would have not used an EVF, but whatever. Touchscreen like the A7S3, this is true, but unfortunately it does not use the new menu system because I don't know why. I think it's because it's using the same processor, that's why. It's using the same processor as the A7 III, I believe, so that's why they could not have added the new menu system, because apparently the new menu system is too demanding for the old processors, so they could have not they could not add the new menu system of the A7S III, so that really sucks. It's still using the old menu system, which is really confusing, but oh well. And now the most important specs which are regarding the video. They were saying that it was going to record 4K 24p 10-bit 100 megabytes per second. This is not true because this camera does not even have 10-bit, so there's that. 4K 30 10-bit, again, it does not have 10-bit. And also another thing, the 4K 30p is cropped. They still do not offer 4K 30 uncropped. It's still cropped just like the A7 III. So if you want to record 4K uncropped, you have to record at 24p. And then the biggest thing that they missed was that it was gonna have 4K up to 60p, but crippled, so no audio, cropped, and only works in SNQ mode. Now this camera does not really offer 4K 60p or 50p. It caps out at 4K 30p, and like I said, it's cropped, and it doesn't even have 10 bits. So there's that. These were the rumored specs for this camera. It does not really have 10 bits. It doesn't have 4K 60p. So there's that. It also does not have any improvement when it comes to the IBIS system as well. So overall, they really missed the mark with this camera. They could have made this camera so much better for video, but it's Sony we're talking about, right? They want you to buy the A7S III. They want you to buy the most expensive model. And like I was saying, this I have done a comparison here when it comes to the sizes. So the A7C is here, the silver one, and I have compared it with the A6400, the A6600, the A7 III, and the RX1R2. So as you can see here, the RX1R2 is actually the smallest and lightest full frame camera that Sony offers, but it's not interchangeable, so it comes with a built-in lens. So that's probably why Sony emphasized with that. It's the smallest and lightest interchangeable lens camera, but it's not really the smallest when you factor in the RX1R2. Yes, it has a built-in lens, but then again, it is full frame, so it should be emphasized that it is the smallest one. So as you can see here, like I said in the beginning, the A7C is pretty much just an A7 III with chopped up EVF. You can see it better here. So as you can see, it uses the same EVF style as the APS-C cameras in the left corner. But if you pay close attention, the A7 III, which uses the EVF in the center. If you cut out the EVF, you get pretty much the same body style as the A7C. Now you do lose some buttons and the joystick in the A7C, of course. You lose some dials as well. It does not even have a front dial like the 6600, so that really sucks for more professionals who want more controls in their cameras. Now, one thing I like about the A7C is actually the recording button. So as you can see, the recording button is behind the one-off button, so that's pretty good. I also like that it's more emphasized. It has a big red circle around, so that makes it more practical and more easy to spot the recording button. So that's the thing I like about the button layout. But aside from that, the button layout is really much worse compared to the A7 III. Like I said, you lose a lot of custom buttons. You also don't have the front dial like you have on the A6600. And the grip, if you pay close attention, like I was saying, the grip is not as deep as the A7 III, and it's also not as deep as the 6600. It is about the same depth as the 6400. So if you're going to use this camera with bigger and larger lenses, it's not going to bounce as well. And Sony cameras are known to be very infamous, should I say, for not offering a very good grip. So yeah, this camera not offering a deeper grip really sucks, because if you use any of the Pro lenses like the 24-70mm f2.8G Master, for example, it's gonna be very front heavy. So you will be advised to only use this camera with cheaper or kit lenses and some of the smaller primes. But if you're gonna use them with bigger lenses, like bigger zoom lenses, like I said, the 24-70 or even 1.2 prime lenses, for example, it's gonna be very front heavy and it's gonna defeat the purpose of the smaller camera. I'm actually gonna show you an example right here. So like I was saying, the 24-70 2.8G master. So as you can see, if you attach this camera with a much bigger lens, a professional lens, it's gonna defeat the small size. So you're gonna have a bigger camera anyway. And I'm actually gonna be comparing as well with the A7 III, because why not? So here with the A7 III as well, the 24-70 2.8, as you can see, they pretty much become the same size. The thing is, with the A7 III, you have a much bigger grip and much deeper grip as well. So if you're gonna use a lens like the 24-70, for example, it's gonna be much better balanced on the A7 III because of the bigger ergonomics and the bigger grip. So this camera, the A7C, is really only emphasized to use with smaller lenses, so that really defeats the purpose. I have said this many times that I prefer a much bigger camera, because if I were to use more professional lenses or better lenses for low light, I would prefer to have a bigger camera so I can balance better with those bigger glass. But yeah, this camera as it stands, it's only going to be good if you're going to use some prime lenses or some cheap kit lenses. So yeah, that was the size comparison. Now I'm actually gonna, I forgot to open a link here. I'm gonna be comparing both of these cameras and the differences, which I forgot to actually show you. So yeah, so right here, the 10 main differences. Sorry about that, I forgot to have this link ready. This site is from Mirrorless Comparison. So here they state the 10 main differences between these cameras when it comes to the video, size, ergonomics, design, and the photo. So what do these cameras have in common? They have the same 24.2 megapixel backside illuminated CMOS full frame sensor. So both these cameras use the same 24 megapixel sensor. I kind of wanted to have seen a newer sensor, but they're pretty much probably gonna reserve that for the A7 IV, which I hope debuts a new sensor, because this sensor is pretty old now. They really should add a new sensor, like 32 megapixels, something like that. The ISO is the same, so it goes from 100 to 51200, extended from 50 to 204,800. The same image stabilization system in the body, so you still get the same 5 stops image stabilization. So they really did not improve when it comes to the average, like I said in the beginning. 10 frames per second continuous shooting. So the rumors were saying that it's gonna have 5, so it still has the same 10 frames per second shooting. So that's, at least there's that. Yeah, they didn't compromise on that. 4K video with full pixel readout. Like I was saying, it's still using the cropped 4K 30. So if you want to film 4K uncropped, you're gonna have to record at 4K 24p only. Microphone in and headphone out. So at least they kept the headphone jack, so that's nice. NP-F7100 battery. So it uses the Z battery, but it was a little bit improved in this camera. You get about 100 more shots or so with this camera. So at least they managed to improve the battery life, so that's good. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, of course. And now here are the differences. So first, the design, of course. The A7C uses the APS-C rangefinder style body compared to the A7 III. It's also a little bit lighter at 509 grams compared to 650 grams of the A7 III. And as you can see here are some overlays. Like I was saying, this camera is pretty much just an A7 III with the top EVF shoved off and a little bit shallower grip, as you can see here. So the grip is not really as deep, and the EVF not being in the middle also makes the camera a little bit smaller. But it's pretty much an A7 III with a shallower grip and the EVF shoved off and put on the left corner. The button layout is different as well, of course. You lose a lot of custom buttons, you lose the joystick. The recording button, at least it's on the top, which is where it should be always. So at least they improved that. But aside from that, the rest is really a downgrade compared to the A7 III. You also lose the dual card slots, which was to be expected, of course. This camera only has one SD card slot, which is not really that important in my opinion, unless you can record to both cards. So there's that. The viewfinder is of course also different. It is a low resolution EVF, and it also is in the left corner and not in the middle. Because they had to use the APS EVF, they had to cut corners here and there, so you get less magnification and less resolution. So there's that. The EVF is low resolution and not as good quality. Then we come to the LCD screen, which is probably the biggest and most attractive feature of this camera compared to the A7 III. So the screen this time flips out to the side. Hooray for Sony for using this. Unlike the APS-C A6100, A6600 and A6400, which flip up, this camera uses a flip out screen, which they debuted with the Sony ZV-1. So at least there's that. I really hope all the future Sony cameras use this type of screen, because people want to record themselves and frame themselves, and this way the mic does not block it like it does on the A6600, the 6400, the 6100. Because if you flip the screen up, if you attach the mic, it's going to be blocked. So this way you don't get the microphone blocking the screen. So there's that. It's really nice that it flips out, unlike the A7 III, which only tilts. Both monitors also share the same resolution, so you still have the same 0.9 million dots resolution in the LCD screen, which is not really that great. I wish Sony would offer bigger resolution screens. Even the A7S III, which is their flagship mirrorless camera for the Alpha line, is still using a pretty low resolution LCD screen compared to the competitors. So I don't know why they continue to do this. They also share the same dimensions, 3.0 inch screen. I wish they would offer a bigger screen like the Panasonic, for example, which offer 3.2 inch screens. But then again, this is Sony and their screens really suck. The autofocus algorithm. Now, the autofocus was improved in this camera. They still use the same 693 phase detection and 425 contrast detection points in both cameras, but the A7C uses the newer autofocus system of the newer Sony cameras. So with this camera, the A7C, you get better video tracking AF, you get better IAF and camera and face tracking AF. So if you want a camera that's really gonna be great for video tracking and tracking your face when it comes to video, and you're gonna use continuous autofocus, the A7C is gonna be better. The A7 III is not that bad. But the newer Sony cameras like the A7R4 and the A7C in this case use the new real-time tracking, so they're gonna be considerably better than the older cameras. So there's that. They have improved the AF, so that's good. Now, video recording and gyro data. This is important because this camera now first the same thing. So they both recorded 4K up to 30p cropped. Using the XAVC-S codec, max 400 megabytes per second. They also share the same picture profiles, which includes S-Log2, S-Log3 and HLG, and they both offer full HD 1080p up to 120p in normal and SNQ mode. Now, the big difference here is that this camera, the A7C, records unlimited forever, so you can pretty much record this camera as long as you have space on the card, or as long as you have battery life. So this is pretty good. I have said this many times that I really want more cameras to offer this on recording, because people like me who do a lot of event shooting and event coverage like concerts, and also record these types of videos for YouTube, the videos can go for much longer than 30 minutes, and it really sucks that you have to pay attention to the timer and hit the record button once again. So if more cameras offer this, it will really be dope. I don't know why cameras continue to not offer on-limit recording like Nikon's, Fujifilms and the Canons. Only Panasonic and Sony with their newer cameras offer this. I don't know why. It might have to do with overheating, but then again, the Nikon cameras, for example, I haven't seen people complaining about overheating, so I don't know why Canon, for example, still continues to offer this limited recording minutes of 29-59 minutes. So this is pretty good that the A7C records forever. Hooray! But then again, The A7 III, if you attach it with an Atomos Ninja 5 for example, you can also get unlimited recording and you get a bigger and better screen, so there's that. Yes, it's gonna be more expensive if you buy it new, but if you buy the A7 III used and with the Ninja 5, you're gonna come out to the same price as the A7C. But then again, it's always nice to have internal unlimited recording, so that way you don't have to get an expensive recorder, and it makes up for a smaller setup as well. So hooray for that! Props to Sony for having unlimited recording. Also another thing, like I was saying, the overheating. This camera also is a little bit better when it comes to overheating. Now, I don't know if it's gonna be as good as the APS-C cameras because it uses the full frame system, so it's gonna overheat probably quicker than the APS-C cameras because of the smaller size. But the A7 III is known to overheat, so this camera might have solved that a little bit, because the newer Sony cameras like the A7R4 and the A7S III have overcome the overheating problems, so they probably have improved the overheating as well. This camera also uses a new gyro sensor data, so it's probably going to be a little bit better when it comes to the stabilization, but I don't expect much because they really have not improved the stabilization. But I know the A7S III uses digital stabilization, but it crops the footage a little bit, so there's that was the main video differences. The shutter speed, so the A7 III can go up to 1/8000 of a second with the mechanical shutter, where the A7C can only top out at 1/4000 of a second. Now, is this important? In my opinion, I don't think so. Most people that are going to be using the A7C are going to be using it for vlogging and videos. They're not really going to be using it for sports or fast moving subjects, so this is not really that important anyway. Then we have the buffer as well, so the A7 III has a bigger buffer, as it is to be expected. But then again, like I was saying, I don't see much people using the A7C for fast shooting or the sports, so the bigger buffer on the A7 III is not really that much of an advantage, unless you want to use these cameras mostly just for photography. But I'm guessing most people will use these cameras mostly for video, especially the A7C because of the small size as well. And then we go over the price. So the A7C is being launched at $1,800, 2,100 euros here in Europe, compared to the A7 III, which now can be brought for a lot cheaper, but the MSRP when released was $2,000 or 2,000 euros here in Europe. So the price, it's pretty much identical. The A7 III is now 2 years old, more than 2 years old actually. The A7C is selling at the MSRP of the A7 III, so the A7 IV is gonna release next year, so that one is gonna be priced probably at $2,500 or so. They're gonna have to price that camera higher. But the A7 III can now be bought for quite cheaper compared to the A7 III, and I think if you're doing photography only, the A7 III will be the better buy in my opinion. But if you're doing video, if you want to do more video, then the A7C will be a better deal, unless you buy used the A7 III. So yeah, but when it comes to things, I mean, the A7C, the main advantages when it comes to this camera compared to the A7 III are really the video, because this camera uses the new color science, so you're gonna get better out of camera JPEGs from this camera. You also get your unlimited recording, which is really a must-have feature for adventurers like me. So if you need unlimited recording in camera, you're gonna have to buy the A7C. This camera also has a little bit better battery life, so that's gonna be great for video as well. You also get the flip out screen, which is a must for vlogging and the people who want to record themselves. So when you put into it, this camera is quite a lot better compared to the A7 III when it comes to video. But then again, you do lose the ergonomics of the A7 III. You also lose some photography specs and advantages compared to the A7 III. The kit lens is not really that great. I wish Sony would have made a better kit lens. Like the APS-C 16-50 starts at 60mm, which is equivalent to 24mm. So that's a little bit better for vlogging. And if you compare this lens with the new Panasonic 20-60, for example, it's a lot less wider, The Panasonic starts at 20mm, so that's gonna be pretty good for vlogging. It also starts at 3.5 compared to this lens, which starts at f4. So Sony really missed the mark with this lens. A camera like this, targeted for vloggers and videographers and YouTubers, should have had a much wider lens. They made the same mistake with the Sony ZV-1 by having it start at 28mm equivalent. I don't know what Sony loves so much about 20mm, but if you ask any vlogger, they're gonna tell you that 20mm is really the best for vlogging. 20mm or wider. Some people actually don't even think that 24mm is enough for vlogging. I think 24 is enough for vlogging. I use my camera, which is at 18mm, which is 27mm equivalent, and I can vlog with it. But then again, the face is gonna be very cropped on the screen. You're not gonna. I'm gonna have to stretch my arm a little bit too far to frame myself correctly. So this camera with the 20-60 is not really gonna be that great for vlogging. So if you really want to vlog handheld with this camera, you're gonna have to use a GorillaPod and stretch your arm very far, or maybe get a wider lens. So I think Sony should have just released a 24-60mm lens, or even better, at 20-60 like the Panasonic. So yeah, the kit lens really sucks. The camera is only gonna be good, in my opinion, if you want to have a normal recording, or if you're gonna use a gimbal or stuff like that, because this camera, the IBIS sucks. Like I said in the beginning, I would have not added IBIS in this camera. I would have priced this camera at $1,000. At that price, it really have sold like crazy. This camera should have been targeted against the Sigma FP. They should have priced this camera at $1,000, added 10-bit recording, and really take out all the photography features, because this camera, as it stands, is actually that great for photography, in my opinion. They should have made this camera really video centric. This camera would have been a perfect pair for a gimbal, because the Sony IBIS sucks. But then again, the small size is really good for a gimbal. If this camera would have been priced at $1,000, you could have gotten a gimbal and an external microphone, and come out at about the same price as the A7 when that camera released. But because this camera is overpriced like crazy at $3,000, it's gonna be very expensive if you really want to rig it up for vlogging and for professional videos. So yeah, I would have probably bought this camera if it had released at $1,000. But as it stands now, I don't really see much of a point in buying this camera, because it's very overpriced for what you get. It should have been $1,000, and at that price I would have probably bought it together with the gimbal, because this camera with the gimbal, like I said, the smaller size is really going to balance very good with the gimbal. But together with the kit lens, it's not really good, and the price, of course, it's not really that appealing, in my opinion. They should have made a much wider kit lens, a much cheaper price point, and added 10-bit and other video specs which people have wanted, like 4K 60. So yeah, guys, that was my take on the Sony A7c. Sorry for dragging out a little bit too long here and there, but I had to share my thoughts on this terrible release from Sony. So this camera, as it stands, it really sucks. It's very overpriced. No wonder it's not really selling that well. So yeah, they should have released this camera like the A5, like it was supposed to be. No IBIS, no EVF, $1,000, and a much better and bigger screen as well. But unfortunately, Sony, being Sony, crippled this camera like crazy, and now it's an overpriced piece of junk pretty much. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. If you want to see more camera talk videos like this, you can always visit the channel, and if you want to support my work, you can hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to stay up to date when I release new content. If you like my work, please leave a like, a dislike, or comment what you thought in the video below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So stay safe out there, take care, and UNHOLY-OMEGA signing out. And Sony, please do not cripple the A7 IV. Let the A7 IV be the perfect camera for hybrid shooters, because I really need to upgrade my Nikon camera, which is close to 90,000 shutters. So when this camera dies, I'm really gonna have to upgrade, and I don't really want to shell out 2,100 euros for a camera that's crippled like the A7C. So yeah, please Sony, wake up and make the A7 IV what it should be, the perfect camera for hybrid shooters. Thank you for watching.